One of the ways that spiritual attacks can feel so daunting to us is not just by the single attack itself, but it's the attacks coming over and over at us constantly. Perhaps you're somebody who's always not feeling good enough. Maybe you've tried to lose weight many times, but nothing you've done actually leads to you losing any appreciable weight. Maybe you're a person that goes out and applies for lots of jobs and has gone on interviews, but you never seem to get that dream job that you've been looking for. Those kinds of things can lead doubt in your mind, this feeling of inadequacy. Maybe you've got a group of friends that's a lot of fun to do things with, but every once in a while, two friends start fighting with each other about little trivial things. And you spend your time trying to bridge those two back together, trying to get people to be friendly again with each other. And just when you do that, next thing you know, two other friends are fighting about something completely different. Maybe you've got people who are sick in your house, or somebody that you know that's going through a long-term illness. And just when they start to feel better, somebody else gets sick in the house, or somebody else ends up coming down with some sort of illness. For me, for those of you that know me, know that standing up here is a big thing for me. It's a lot of work, right? It's not something I feel comfortable with. So a couple of weeks ago, I had put together a message, and I was feeling pretty good about it. I went to bed that night thinking, yeah, I think I've got this message pretty well down pat at this point. So I get up the next morning, and I go to work, and I get a text from Heather saying, the house is feeling really cold right now. I need to call the furnace person. An hour later, I get another text. Look at this picture. I think the washing machine is broken right now. Half an hour later, another text. Bad news. We need a new furnace. 2 hours later, the new forecast comes in. We're having a snowstorm on Sunday, which means the day that you were supposed to give this message is going to be a week later, and it's going to come after a week where you have a lot of things going on at work. Just this week, as I was trying to finalize the message, there were lots of little spiritual attacks coming, whether it be from little family things that get buried, but then they come back to the surface with phone calls, or conflicts with coworkers that you think are over with, but you're back to mediating them again. All of these little things can leave us feeling tired, distracted, not focusing on what is the glory of God, but just listening instead to those devil's deceptions coming in. There's lots of things that you try. You pray. You look to the cross. You try to avoid all of these battles, but in the end, it just feels like that battle will never end. It just feels endless. But what I'm here to tell you today is that despite how difficult these battles may seem and how they feel like they're going to last forever, the truth is the battle's already over. It's already won. We're not in a battle. It's just the devil deceiving us to think that we're still in the battle. And today's reminder of this truth comes from the book of Revelation. So the Revelation is the last book of the Bible. It is a description, it is a vision given to the disciple John by Jesus about what is going to happen when Jesus comes back. It's a unique book of the Bible in that all the other books of the Bible are talking about the past. But Revelation is actually telling us what is going to happen into the future. Now, we don't know when that future point is going to come, but it's just that this is what will happen when it is. Only God knows when that time is actually going to come. So to give a little bit of context here, Revelation was given to the first century Christians at a time when they were under constant battle. That battle was with the Romans, who saw Christians as a threat. And so the early disciples were going out, they were testifying about Jesus, but in the process, they had to go into hiding. Or They were being killed for those beliefs, for that testifying. And so Revelation was a book that was meant to be an encouragement to them to keep up the fight, to keep faith that things were going to come out well in the end. And so what we're going to start off with is in Revelation 12, which what you're going to see today, you might mistaken for a big budget Hollywood movie. But it's a movie we already know what the outcome is. And it comes with the devil's defeat. So starting in chapter 12, verse 7, then war broke out in heaven. Michael and the angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon and his angels fought back. But the devil, was not strong enough, and they lost their place in heaven. The great dragon was hurled down, that ancient serpent called the devil, or Satan, who leads the whole world astray. He was hurled to earth, and his angels with him. So what you have here is a battle taking place. On one side, you have Michael, who is one of the angels of the Lord. He appears in several different places in the Bible as a guardian of the believers. And he is leading God's angels, the forces of good, against Satan and the forces of darkness and evil. Now, there's a battle that takes place. You can see it's a back and forth, fierce battle that takes place. But ultimately, it's Michael and God's angels that win, and they force the devil to retreat out of heaven and back to earth, like a defeated army. So what happens when after a battle takes place and one side wins? They celebrate. We go on to verse 10. And then I heard a loud voice in heaven say, now have come the salvation and the power and the kingdom of our God and the authority of his Messiah, Jesus. For the accuser of our brothers and sisters, who accuses them before our God day and night, has been hurled down. They're celebrating. The devil's been defeated. Moving on to verse 11, we find out how that victory came. And this is really the key part of this entire message today. They triumphed over him by the blood of the Lamb and the word of their testimony. They did not love their lives so much as to shrink from death. So what this is telling us, there's two reasons why this battle was won. The battle wasn't won with guns or bombs or numbers of people or better strategy. This battle was won by the blood of the Lamb. The blood of the Lamb, Jesus, is what won this battle. Jesus is that lamb, that sacrificial lamb that conquered death. He willingly went to the cross, and by going to that cross freely by himself, he was able to overcome the devil and defeat him in battle. There's nothing that we could do to win that battle. He already won that battle for us. But it's not just Jesus alone that wins the battle. It is the word of their testimony. Who's the they there? The they is us. It is us witnessing to the people around us, giving the testimony of what Jesus has done in our lives and that Jesus is Lord over all. Witnessing doesn't have to just be, testimony doesn't just have to be words. It's not just standing out in the corner saying Jesus is Lord. It's also in our actions. Are we showing the love to the people around us, as Pastor Will just talked about with the Glen Warden School? That testimony is not just good. Shouldn't just be to the people in this room. It needs to be to all the people in our lives. It's easy to just tell the people in this room what Jesus has done for us. The hard thing is to go outside of our social circle to do that. If you remember back a few weeks ago, Pastor Will talked about the armor of God, and of that armor, there was only one of those pieces that was actually an offensive piece. It was the sword of the Spirit. The sword of the Spirit is the Word of God, the truth that helps to pierce the devil. Now, in doing so, we can't be fearful. For the first century Christians, there was a lot for them to fear. Right? By them going out and testifying about Jesus, they literally lost their lives. They did not, for this point, they did not love their lives so much as to shrink for death. They continued to testify about Jesus, despite for the fact that some of them would be crucified for that, doing so. Fortunately for us, we don't live in a country where we have to fear death from testifying about Jesus. But do you love your life in other ways as to shrink from testifying about it? Do you love your life so much that you fear telling your friends and family about what Jesus has done in your life because it might mean that they won't talk to you anymore or they won't be your friend? Do you love your life so much that you're afraid to tell people, your coworkers, about Jesus? Fearful that you might not get that promotion? Or that your boss might think of you differently and start giving you more work? Do you fear your life do you love your life so much that you'd rather go out and have fun time with your friends than to devote that time to helping the people in your community? This is saying that we're not going, the word of our testimony has to be without fear of what we can lose, because we should be looking at the things of heaven and not of this earth, not using the trappings of this life to have us shrink away from being that testimony. So moving on to verse 12. So while heaven is celebrating here, the devil has been kicked out. The problem is he's retreated to earth at this point. And now, of course, earth is not going to be in good shape because the devil is going to be free. So picking up at verse 12, therefore rejoice, you heavens, and you who dwell in them, but woe to the earth and the sea, because the devil has gone down to you. He is filled with fury because he knows that his time is short. You ever encountered a wild animal? Do you go up and pet that wild animal? No, right? You try to avoid that wild animal because it is angry. It's hurt. It's likely to attack you, hurt you, maybe even kill you. Well, at this point, the devil is that wild animal, right? He is going around the world just attacking people on earth, growing his followers by doing so. And so what do you do when you have a wild animal in your midst with you? You call animal control, right? Let's skip ahead to chapter 20. And I saw the angel coming out of heaven with a key, having the key to the abyss, and holding in his hand a great chain. He seized the dragon, the ancient serpent, who is the devil or Satan, and bound him for 1,000 years. He threw him into the abyss and locked and sealed it over him to keep him from deceiving the nations anymore until 1,000 years have ended. So animal control comes, God's animal control, the angels, and they lock up the devil. Now you might think during this time, great, the devil's been bound up. He's not going to be able to deceive people anymore. There's not going to be evil in the world, but there actually still is evil in the world during this time. You see, during the time that the devil is on earth, he grows his followers. He deceives people into following him. And so there's an army of people still following the devil at this point and ready to continue to perpetuate evil. Think of this a lot like a movie where you have the mob boss that gets arrested by the police, right, and put in jail. Do the mobsters go away during that time? When he puts in jail, the mob goes away? No, right? The mobsters just bide their time waiting for the boss to get out of jail. And guess what happens here? The same thing happens. We go to verse 7. When 1,000 years is over, Satan will be released from his prison, and he'll go on to deceive the nations in the four corners of the earth and to gather them for battle. In number, they are like sand on the seashore. They marched across the breadth of the earth and surrounded the camp of God's people, the city he loves. So the devil is released, and he's a lot like that mob boss that now gets released from prison. Does he decide, well, I've learned my lesson in prison. I'm not going to go into crime anymore? No, right? He gets up and he gets all his mobster people back away, and he is going to get revenge, and he's going to show everybody who's boss. And that's what the devil's going to do here, is that he's going to show everybody who's boss. And so he gathers all of his followers, and it's not a few followers here. They are like sand on the seashore. Are they many? Are there just a few grains of sand on the seashore? No, there's uncountable numbers here. And they surround God's people. You see, the devil knows that he can't defeat God. So he tries to go and do the next best thing, and by surrounding God's people. And so this looks like a desperate situation, right? They've surrounded God's people. This is like the fierce battle. We've built up to the fierce battle that we have in that big Hollywood movie. This ending's kind of a dud. We go on to verse 9. But fire came down from heaven and devoured him. And the devil who deceived them was thrown into the lake of burning sulfur. They will be tormented day and night forever and ever. So you might think that if you're watching a big movie, right, you expect that there's going to be this big 15-minute fight scene of back and forth and slow motion. But instead, we just get God going, whack, you're done, devil. He just rains down on fire, and they're defeated forever. The battle's over. Actually, the battle never started because God won that battle before it even started. We have victory through Jesus in this battle with the devil. There is nothing that the devil can do to win this battle. He can try to deceive us that the battle is still on, but the reality is the battle is over already. You see, friends, this is unlike any other battle that's ever taken place on earth. Most of the time, when people go into battles or wars with each other, they don't know what the outcome is going to be. You see, the soldiers go in, they're fearful about what's going to happen, fearful of losing their lives, fearful of not seeing their families anymore, fearful of seeing their possessions. But we don't have to fear that. World War II was one of the bloodiest and deadliest wars that the earth has ever seen. Over the course of a year, the Axis and the Allied powers fought each other, but they eventually fought each other to a duel, I shouldn't say, a neutral point. They couldn't take any more land on each other. And so what did they do in response? They dug these big, deep holes and trenches into the ground and fought each other out of those trenches. But once that happened, neither side could take any additional ground because it was so hard to get additional space because they had fortified those positions so much. The soldiers at the time spent months just sitting in these holes, watching bullets and bombs whiz over their heads. Sometimes those bombs and bullets actually hit them in the trenches and they died. So the soldiers eventually just became demoralized because they felt like nothing that they could do was actually going to advance the cause. They became deflated, fearful of never seeing their family anymore, fearful of just surviving. And the war stayed in stasis for years because of that. Friends, we don't have to live that way. We're not in a war where we're uncertain what the ending of that battle is. We know what the ending of that battle is. Jesus won that battle. So as a consequence, what we need to do is we need to live fearlessly for the kingdom. We're not just trying to survive. We're not just trying to get through the next day. We can charge the field knowing that we've already won this battle. So the question for you is, are you living fearlessly? You see, God has given us a number of talents for our lives. Everyone in this room has been given talents. Are you living fearlessly for God through those talents? Are you fearlessly going out and witnessing about Jesus? Are you ready to take on the darkness, the empty trappings of the world, the hopelessness, the fear, and the anxiety? You see, friends, because we're warriors for God's kingdom, but we're not fighting people. We're fighting that darkness. To do that, we can't be satisfied with just doing little things. We can't be satisfied with just sitting in our chairs for for an hour every week and just going home. We need to be ready to charge the field. We can't just be satisfied with telling the people that we know about Jesus. We need to go to the people around us. So I say, are you fearlessly going to people outside of the people that you know and declaring about Jesus? I'll admit that this is a point where I come up short many times. I work at a place that is not only not interested in Christians, but actually openly hostile toward Christians. What can that make you do? It can make you shrink in fear. There's been many a circumstance where people have come to me in trust. And I could have witnessed to them about their difficult circumstances and said, made a point about Jesus, talking about Jesus loving them. But I shrank from it, fearful of what could happen. But friends, that doesn't have to be that way. We've already won this battle. So let me say it again. We need to live fearlessly for the kingdom. Fireside Church, we're in a battle. We're in a battle with the devil. We are bloody from this battle. But this is not our blood that we are bloody with. We are bloody with the blood of Jesus. He already won this battle for us. We don't have to fear. We already know what the outcome is. Because of that, we can charge the field. Just imagine how many people that we could bless in the Glenville, Scotia area if we just charge the field, knowing that this battle is already won. So friends, the battle's already won. We just need to live fearlessly for the kingdom.